Hello, I'm Rebecca Downs. Welcome to the fourth episode in the second series of my podcast, Downs Your Way, in association with Blues in Britain magazine. Regular listeners will know by now, but if you are tuning in because you are a fan of my guest and you want to know more about me and the magazine, then please follow the links in the show notes. As you know, in this new series, I'm taking a new direction and I'm asking you to come along with me on a journey through the landscape of the current music scene, looking at what's going on, the impact it has on musicians and how they deal with it. In this episode, I'm talking to Elles Bailey, award-winning charting musician, singer-songwriter, national radio DJ, and let's not forget, a mother.
I got you now, you're coming with me.
Well, hi everyone, we've got the unbelievably talented, the amazing Elles Bailey with us. Elles, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm all right. Our dogs have just said hello. Ralph's got a new true love in your rock,
Yeah.
so it's going all right, isn't it?
It has. I loved that they literally jumped up at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can we meet, please?
Yeah, can we meet? As I say, though, she does look a bit out of his league, I'm going to be honest.
Well, yeah, I called her Roxy because she's part rock star, which was the dad, and part fox, which was the mum. And she is definitely more fox than rock star.
Oh,
She's
she
a
looks
scavenger.
amazing.
She's an absolute scavenger.
Oh, you never know, they might get on then because Ralph's along the same lines. He really is. Now, I've been wanting to talk to you for ages, and we've never really, I think, apart from like many, many years ago, we've never really coincided. So it's great to actually finally talk to you properly. So, big fan.
I think the last time I genuinely spoke to you was when I remember being in Iceland and I'd phoned you up, and I can't remember what it was about, but it was around the time of the Great British R&B Festival. So it may have been something to do with that. And I think that was the last time we actually were able to like catch up. So this is very, very nice. And we've literally never been on a bill together, which makes no sense to me.
And that's something that we'll come across, we'll talk about actually, because, we'll talk about it now. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know a few years ago, Lily Allen put up a photoshopped version of the Glastonbury or Reading Festival, can't remember, and took out all the female artists and there was, it didn't even matter. You know what I mean? There was it's almost like, we've got one female artist on that day, that'll do. Or we're going to probably fight it out to the death or something.
Yeah,
exactly. What do you think about that? You're a woman in music. You've got the same issues.
It's an interesting one. So I'm very tenacious. I'm very determined, and I also get very caught up with just the each day of the story because it is just a never-ending sort of journey that we're on. So for a long time, I never really even noticed the disparity between, on festival slots and stuff like that. And it was only when someone sort of pointed it out to me, it was, I was thinking back to this, it was a lady called Victoria who was in a blues punk band, and I cannot for the life of me remember what the band was called, but she's a fellow Bristolian, and she said, and it was when the 2018 Blues UK Blues Awards were announced, which was the first of its kind, and she was like, "Els, look at the disparity between the male artists and the female artists," and I was like, "Oh wow!" And then in 2020, in January 2020, I won an Americana award. I won Song of the Year. And I'd just been at this amazing celebration of Americana, and there are 7 voted for awards.
Right.
And until it was pointed out, it was actually quite nice because no one noticed that every single one of the awards were women. And actually, it was like, and then they were pointed out, and it was like each award of these 7 awards, they've all been won by women. And I was like, that is amazing. And then the next day, the UK Blues Awards nominees were announced. And I think out of 28, oh, I've dropped my phone. Out of 28 sort of possible nominees, only 4 were women. And that was when I started to think, what can we do about this? Because actually, it's really easy to judge awards because they are a reflection of the scene at the time. You know, that's a year thing. So what can we do to address this so that more women, so that these awards can become more inclusive? And that's actually when I decided that I wanted to sit on the board, the UK Blues Federation, because I want to make a positive impact and to do whatever I can to support women in music, so that when all the awards are won by women, we don't even need to like make a thing about it. You know, that's what, you know, we don't want to make a thing about this. We just want it to be normal. And I think that's really, really important. And each year there are new names coming up. They're often women, and that's really exciting to see. So, it's slow progress. I'm not going to lie, it's slow progress. And I do still see festival bills when I'm like, where your girls at? Come on. Yeah. But I do think it is a conversation that we just need to continue to have until we don't need to say it anymore. And, you know, it's about being inclusive. It's about having a gender balance. It's about being diverse. You know, it's a reflection of the whole industry. But we have a long way to go, but progress is being made. And that is, you know, we've got to celebrate the progress as well.
We have to celebrate the progress. I know a guy that I know does a rock show, Guy B Rock Show, and
yes.
he put on like an all-female night one night, and he said he had quite a few messages saying, "Why have you done this? Why? And he's like, well, why not? If I did an all-male night, that would just be a regular night for most people. So why do you have to even mention it?" So it's different being a female, isn't it? I think especially in this scene, which is seen as sometimes a little bit probably more male biased and probably more older male biased. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think there is. And do you know what? It's also maybe it's guitar bias as well, and often that is a male wielding a guitar, when actually what I'm finding quite exciting is, you know, the women that are coming through that are wielding really great songs.
Ralph, don't growl. Sorry, Ralph just growled at that. Ralph, you great songs, Ralph. Ignore Ralph. Sorry, Els.
Oh no, I love it. He's got something to say on. It's very important.
I think he just agreed with you. I think that's probably what
So yeah, I think and I mean I have my Planet Rock show, which is it's a daytime show, so I only get 2 picks a week, and I will do whatever I can to make sure that I'm getting as close as possible to having a 50-50 balance on music. And it's really hard because I can't magic up big female rock acts from yesteryears, because, you know, if they're not in the playlist, or, you know, in the back what Planet Rock play, you know, so that means that I'm really focusing on new music, new rock artists, who are the new females out there. How can I, you know, show them, you know, give them help give them a platform, and that kind of a thing. So that to me is really important. And especially, you know, I do whatever I can for the people in the Americana scene and the blues scene. So
well done you. I mean, it's great. You know, and I think another thing that's always come up with females is that not really us a lot of the time, but so I did I'm not going to say where, but I did a headline gig somewhere, and they'd picked a support with female lead singer. And as soon as I arrived, they sort of said, "Oh, female," the person that arranged it, female, "Ooh, what do you think of that?" Like as if to say I was going to be, and I said, "What do you want us to do? Fight it out." I mean, what on earth? Yeah, great. What?
Wow.
And you just think, and I just think it's almost like, as I say, there's got to be only one female on the bill, else we'll scrap it out in the car park. It's ridiculous. I don't understand where that comes from.
It's an interesting one. I was chatting with Amanda Shires at Black Deer Festival, and she's part of she's an own amazing artist, but she also did an album called The High Women, with the High Women, which is Brandy Carlisle, Maren Morris. It's got Yola on there. It's got Natalie Henley, and for me, it's one of the most important records of the 21st century. I think it's beautiful. It's so well written. It's an album that celebrates everything it is to be female without, that can be listened to by everyone. It's not isolating anybody else, which I think it just places it so perfectly. And she just turned around and was like, "We're stronger together. We're stronger together. This isn't about fighting it out in the car park. This is a community. We are stronger together." And I think that's just so important. Like, we have to celebrate each other. We have to build each other up. We have to do whatever we can to shine lights on each other, because we are stronger together.
No, it's true, isn't it? And because I teach at a university, and I've got sort of, I call them kids, but they're so not kids, but they are kids to me at my ripe old age. And I'm always telling them, you're on your own little journey, and it's got nothing to do with anyone else. Because like the social media aspect as well, is, I've had to distance myself a little bit. I'll admit that freely to anyone. I kind of do what I've got to do, but I find it very hard to engage further than that at the moment due to, problems with family and all the rest of it and other demands. I find it quite soul sapping a lot of the times. Like, how do you cope with social media? Because, you've got a lot of stuff going on.
It is a full-time job, and since becoming a mum, like I definitely don't engage with it in the way that I used to, purely because I can't. Like, I'm running my own record label. I'm making everything I do is fully independent. And just like you, we are only one person. We are not a band. We don't have a band around us that can pick up the pieces. It is, it falls entirely on us. I think the one thing is, like, it's really hard to get caught up with the numbers in social media and thinking, what can I post that is going to give this the most amounts of likes or something like that. And I think this year I've tried to be as honest as possible and actually just post what I want to post. Sometimes you do fall in the trap of, this is probably going to get the most reach, so I'm going to do this. But actually, if I can just be a bit more immediate, a bit more, this is what I'm up to, this is what I'm doing. Hey, right now, I've not got any makeup on. I haven't washed my hair for 5 days, but I don't care. It's just trying to be a bit more real, because I don't have the time to put makeup on. If I'm not doing a gig, I don't wear makeup. And that's just me. And so if I can be as real as possible on social media, then that's what I do. Sometimes it's harder to engage. I used to be able to reply to everyone. I just can't do that anymore, because I wouldn't be making any new music if I did that.
No,
but
absolutely.
I appreciate every single person that sort of engages with me, and I do look and I do see it, and I feel very, very blessed. But sometimes I just, I'm knackered. I just can't.
Well, that's it. And you have got to have some downtime as well, because, like, as you say, like, you're a mum, which, as I've always said, is the most important job in the world, because it is. No word of a lie, just is the truth, So have you had any struggles on social media? I mean, I have to say, when I've done an advert, I don't normally get backlash, because we're kind of like, well, I'm kind of like not really, in the limelight. So it's like, But when I do an advert, you get some really sometimes bizarre comments
Yeah.
from people. I mean, have you had that? How'd you cope with that?
100%. And it is actually when I do the adverts. So I and it was actually, I just found out I was pregnant, and it was boiling hot. It was 2020. We'd just been allowed to go into studios, and I was doing a live stream, and it was the first live stream I did for my Ain't Nothing But collection, which actually ended up being an album. And I was wearing this like long sleeved play suit, and yeah, it was short, but it was so freaking hot. It was like 30 degrees in there. And I am so proud of this body of work. It's one of my like most favorite things I've done. It's all fully live. It was just captured very organically. And like boosted a couple of those clips, and the amount of people that were like, "Oh, forgot your trousers, did you?" Da da da. And I was like, "Listen to the freaking music, because this is really good music. Like, this isn't about the fact that I'm showing some thigh." Like, what gives you the right to write that on my post when actually what I'm posting is really good?
It's crazy,
You know,
isn't it? And with the
and
guys,
wasn't thought of at all. You know, I didn't think I'm going to show some leg today because that might get me a few more like views on social media, because it was never even supposed to go on social media. It just happened. I was really proud of it, and I thought, well, I might share this with people.
it's mad, isn't it? It's mad. And you just think, I don't know, would a guy get the same reaction if he was wearing a vest top? I don't know. I don't know. It's
I, it's an interesting one, and this is sort of going back to being a parent, a touring mother, and I was sat. It was I just opened for Don McLean at the Palladium, and my really old friend came and watched, and she said, "Look, can we go out for breakfast the next day?" So we went out for breakfast, and I was with my husband because he was able to come up to watch that show, which was great, because he doesn't get to watch that many shows anymore because he's at home with Jasper. But Jasper had stayed over with my parents, and we got to go out for breakfast, and we were sort of talking about work. And my friend has 3 kids. Her husband stayed at home to look after the kids, and she has a clinic actually working with refugees and stuff like that. So she's created this amazing clinic, works really hard,
wow.
and yeah, amazing. And you know, she's sort of trained as a social worker and then psychologist. So that's what she does. And we were sort of talking about how, you know, there's mum guilt that you get. And my husband turned around and said, "It's funny, I never get any guilt when I go to work." And I was like, "Oh yeah, funny that." And then I turned around and said, "Oh, the amount of people that ask me how I make it work, being a mum and being a touring artist." And my friend just turned around and said, "And I bet they never ask all the guys in your industry how they make it work, being a touring artist and having a kid." And I was like, "That's so true." I hadn't even like thought of it like that. I just figured it was a question that I answer every time someone asks me, "How do you make it work?" And you know, we all do it. Female, you know, female to female, we do it because society still expects us to raise the kids and go to work.
You can have it
So
all as a female. You can have it
yeah,
all. You just got to do it all as well. Unfortunately, I haven't got that on my list of questions. You can actually. I'm gonna show that there. You know, I will say they were. It
thank you,
wasn't on
thank
my
you.
list.
It wasn't. Yeah, there we
I
go.
just assume that it is working because it is working.
It does work. Yeah, it works. You know, I feel very blessed that it. So I won't. I won't. You know, I feel very blessed. But yeah, you know, maybe we need to change the dialogue.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, have you written any songs with the baby boy in mind yet?
I have, yeah. So I've written 2, which, considering I think I've probably written about sort of 50 or 60 since he's been born, I think
Mm.
2 is that's good. I've not overdone. I've not overdone, but there are two songs that I'm incredibly proud of. One is on the Shining in the Half Light Deluxe album called Spinning Stopped, and it's got quite a nice story. I was writing it over Zoom with a friend of mine, and we were trying to write another song, and sort of about 2 hours into this Zoom, he just turned around and said, like, let's try something different. And I'm not one to leave a man down, but he talked me around, and I was sort of looking through my phone and I found this verse that I had, and within 25 minutes we'd written the song, and I was like, oh, I'm really, really glad that we started to write this one instead. So, and it's all written about becoming a mother, and it's the life-changing feeling of becoming a mother in the world that we live in, which is beautiful, it's crazy, it's totally messed up, but also throw in a worldwide pandemic at the same time. So that's kind of what it's about.
Could not have been easy at all. Good God.
I mean, at least for me, I knew that we were in a pandemic. It was a conscious decision of, oh, it doesn't look like we're going to be touring for a while, so let's have a baby. And I will truly say that I think first time round, I had a child in, just, take the pandemic out of it, I'd have really struggled watching all of my friends go off touring and me being at home. So the pandemic helped because no one was touring. So sorry, everybody. I use that to my advantage.
I think that was a use of time. I really do. I think that was cool.
Yeah, but to all the people who weren't expecting a pandemic, especially Jo Harmon, she had a baby in May of 2020. Like, I can't even comprehend how isolating that must have been.
That would have been
scary, and
really, really mad, really, really mad. So, like, touring, like coming back, after the pandemic, touring the pandemic. Oh, there were so many names, and the vid and all the rest of it. What have you seen any differences? Like, because I've been talking to quite a few people, and some see differences, some don't. Like, do you see any differences?
I think it's taken a long time to come back. I remember having a conversation with someone in October of 2020, and he turned around to me and said, "Els, touring is not going to be back until 2023, like, properly." And I was like, "You're having a laugh. What are you talking about?" And they were right. Like, I don't really think it's come back until now. It was the reason why we did the Shining in the Half Light tour a year after the album came out. The one thing I have noticed is you release tickets and you have that initial rush where fans are so amazing, they're so loyal, they'll buy the tickets and they'll get the VIP thing, and they're there, and then it trickles and you're like, oh gosh, is this gonna work? There's a lot riding on this, oh dear. And then the last 2 weeks it's just like, boom, and you're like, oh phew, I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, because I was talking to Alan Nimmo about that, and he was saying the same thing, that exactly the same thing as you've just said. But then, he said you can't. He gets some venues that have wanted to pull the gig because, they haven't reached a certain amount. Or, have you found that? Have you managed to make them hang on and wait?
I think so. There's just been one show in Holland. I sold 28 tickets.
You know what though? That is a success on many levels.
I hadn't been to. Yeah, do you know what? I think the people that were there, they basically got a VIP, full band VIP show.
Yeah, and it would have been a great gig. And but I think coming back after lockdown and going in different parts of different countries, I think, that's nothing to knock. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I was over for festivals, and I do think I sort of feel that it just, in all parts, everything went a bit wrong. Tagging a headline show in around festivals and stuff like that, it actually doesn't really make sense. You want to sell the story, sell the tour, all of that. So, we all made mistakes. And I was like, well, we can't pull it because I'm over there. Like, I'm
Mm.
over there anyway. I've got a band. I'm not cancelling on a band. Like, we've got to eat, you know. So we stuck with it, and then we had a beautiful show. And it was really funny because I was torn between, should I post this online? Because we're always posting our full, you know, here's me with 500 people in Sunderland. Amazing.
Mm.
Should I post, here's me with 28 people in Zandam? And in the end, actually, someone posted it for me. So I was like, do you know what? It was still a beautiful show. And yes, I hope the next time we come, it's 280, not 28. But it's just part of the story, isn't it? And it's quite a humbling thing because it was on the back of such a successful UK tour to then go and play this tiny gig. I've not played to audiences like that since 2016, 2017.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, cool. But it must be the same for big country artists that play stadiums in America that come to Europe, and, you know, they're playing 200 people because
Yeah.
it's, you know, you've all got to start somewhere. And every time you open up to a territory, you got to
It's
start again. So
absolutely. I mean, Steve Birkett, my band songwriting partner, he went to see Eric Gales in Leamington Spa, I think it was. And you know, it's a Leamington Sport Academy, no, Assembly Hall. It's a fairly decent sized place. And he said, you know, as soon as he walked in, they'd put out the tables and chairs, and you think, oh, okay, like this isn't, you know.
yeah,
So there was less than 100 people. Then you just think Eric Gales, and there's less than 100 people.
wow.
You never know what's going to happen. You know, it's
No,
like it's in the hands of the gods, isn't it? Sometimes.
actually, thinking back to that, I did the Eric Gales support tour in 2016, and we played to a full house at Mr. Kipps in
Yeah.
Poole. It was incredible. And then we went over to Ireland and we played to 40 people in
Wow.
where were we? It was Dolan's Warehouse in Limerick. And you're like, yeah,
It's
yeah,
utterly mad,
mad.
isn't it? You never quite know, do you? It's a little bit for everyone, I think, you know, probably some more than others, obviously. So, like,
Yeah.
how do you manage, you know, the mental health side of this? How do you keep yourself, or try and keep yourself? I know we've spoken about the social media. I mean, I'm seeing your lovely dog Roxy. I know you've got your amazing family, your beautiful son. And I've got little Ralph, and I have to say, I haven't got a child. I've got a godson. He makes me very, very happy, and I'm constantly being rinsed of money, which is fine.
Good.
And Ralph makes me so happy as well, and he kind of brings me back down to the moment. Whereas I think sometimes we're kind of a little bit, oh, what's happening in the future? What's happening? You know.
Yeah.
So how do you manage your own mental health, Els?
I don't know. I run. I
Bloody hell,
definitely. I like
you
to get up.
run.
Yeah. I tell you what. I've just started running a lot again. Not far, you know. I run for 25 minutes, and that really helps. It also helps me write music. I come back off runs and I'm just words are sort of tumbling out of me, which is great. It's because there's a chance to sort of get away from the noise and everything like that. So running definitely helps. I was really down in February, like, and it totally took me by surprise, and it came on so quickly and also disappeared so quickly. It was the bizarrest thing. I don't know if I got really sick and then had like a post viral depression, because it came off the back of being unwell, and it came off the back of really seriously losing my voice, where I blew it out at a gig, which was, we did 3 dates. We played Winter's End for Planet Rock. And then I did 2 shows for Stephen at Solid Entertainments, and that was with Chantel. And on the first one of those at Manchester Academy, the sound on stage was so bad, and none of us knew what was going on until we all realized that basically none of the monitors were working. But it took so long for us to realize that I'd done proper damage to my voice by then. And it's a classic beginning of a tour. You're not tour fit. You don't have the right sound that you can. And at the beginning, I was about to start the Shining in the Half-Light tour a month later. And at the beginning of March, I still didn't have a voice. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And I think that had really rattled me. So I ended up taking a sound man very last minute with me, going on in-ear monitors. And that was a total game changer. But I don't know if that had rattled me. And maybe it was just because I was at home. I was sort of stressing about the tour a lot, hoping that, you know, the tickets would sell in the end. Being on the edge of my seat. And I also was sorting out all the Shining in the Half-Light Deluxe stuff. And I'd made 2 epic mistakes on the artwork that broke my heart. It broke my heart so much because I'd spent so much time on this, and classic Bailey spelling mistakes. And
I've had that. Just say, this is what we said. We said these are gonna, you know what? These are so limited edition.
They are so limited edition. But I think I'd already said they were limited edition. Now they're even more limited edition. So yeah, I just think like the whole industry was sort of getting on top of me. And then when I got back onto the stage and I started performing again, like I was like, oh, this is why I do it. Like, this is amazing. We played Cardiff and Exeter, and they were full houses. And I was like, oh, wow. And it was sort of the fans reminding me that it's so easy to get lost in all the business and all the social media and all of that. But when I'm not actually performing, like, there's a disconnect, I think. I'm just one of those artists that I need to perform as well.
Yeah, I think we can forget why we're doing it. I know I do. I think, oh, yeah, it's because I really like writing songs and singing. Who'd have thought it when you've got to do social media and business and production of this and videos, and you think, yeah, and you don't think you do tend to lose it. I mean, vocally, you know, I've worked with artists bringing them back after they've had nodules removed and stuff like that. And for me, if my voice isn't on par, if it doesn't matter if I'm gigging or not, that affects my mood so much.
Oh, me too. And it's also your ability to communicate as well, isn't it? It's that sort of, for me, I find I lose a bit of my identity. I've had a cough since April, and it's like at the moment you can hear I'm quite husky. It's just a freaking cough that sort of, I've been able to sing above it the whole time. I've not lost my voice once or anything, but the talking, oh my Lord, like this stupid cough just gets in the way. And that's been just sort of hard to navigate. And you're like, oh, the voice is a tricky thing. It's you can't escape it. It's what we do.
No, you can't
be so careful of it.
And it's like, yeah, it's not as if it's a part of us. It's not a guitar, is it? It's not. So it's really hard, because if you are down as well, or if you're trying to fight off a virus that you don't even know you're fighting off, your voice will go down. But yeah, for me personally, if there's anything wrong, if my level of, happiness plummets, it doesn't matter if
it's
I'm
funny, isn't it?
I was part of us. That's why.
Yeah, I was chatting with my friend Hannah Williams. So she's part of Hannah Williams and the Affirmations, an incredible vocalist. And I was sort of messaging her maybe the beginning of the tour, or just as the tour was starting. I was saying I was feeling nervous, like losing my voice. I was worried I was going to lose my voice again. She turned around and said, treat the voice like you would any instrument and play it. Imagine you're playing a saxophone and you've got a broken finger, or you've got a broken note on that saxophone. You just ignore that note. Like, you don't. So treat your voice like that. Sing the voice you have today, not the voice you probably should have. And I was like, that's genius.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. You've just got to assess it as before the show and think, what can I do? What can I do? And I think for me, you have to manipulate what you do and maybe not go for those massive belt notes you normally do. And you know what?
Exactly.
No one really says anything, so it's fine.
No, it's funny, isn't it?
Well, I'm not going to keep you much longer. Thanks ever so much for your chat. But on an end note, for somebody starting out today, I teach all these kids in inverted commas, and a lot of them are interested in Americana. A lot of them are interested in blues, rock, a lot of what you are and what you do. It's not all doom and gloom. I mean, it is a hard industry, but what advice would you give to anyone, young you today?
I think, first of all, it's be resilient and don't take everything personally, because often people just, you'll, to every 100 emails you send out in those early stages, you'll get one reply back. I used to take that really, really personally. And I actually, it's just a case of the world we live in. People are constantly bombarded and we just don't have enough time to assess it all. So yeah, be resilient, keep trying, keep knocking on the door, don't give up, like persevere. And I think also the one thing that I've actually found so important is being a part of something. So, becoming a part of the Americana Association, the UK Blues Federation, be a part of your scene, get to know the people around you, collaborate, but, become friends with people. It's not all about just sort of getting up the ladder. It's actually knowing that there's a community around you that can lift you up, that can help raise your voice. And I think as a solo artist, it can be incredibly lonely, and knowing that there's these scenes that are there to support independent artists within this niche is a really important thing.
That's really great, actually. Thanks for that. So you've heard it here, folks. This is from the lovely Elles Bailey, who I finally got to talk to. We're going to set up a date between our two dogs in a minute so they can have a nice soiree. But again, thank you so much, Elles. It's been so lovely to speak to you finally.
Yeah, it's just been nice to catch up.
It has. We'll just record our chats. It's fine.
I hope we do get on a bill soon so we can actually hang out in real life.
That'd be great.
Can't understand why that hasn't happened yet. So.
People are going to expect, two females on a bill. How on earth would that work? Elles, you are absolutely impossible. Thank you so much, Elles. Thank you so much.
You're coming with me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Series 2 of Downs Your Way in association with Blues in Britain. Thank you so much to Elles. That was a lovely chat, and I hope you enjoyed it too. As usual, if you have any comments, questions or feedback, please email or message me, and as usual, contact details are in the show notes. In the next episode, I shall be keeping within the sisterhood, although I do kind of hate that word, by talking to Yorkshire's very own Chantel McGregor, award-winning guitarist, singer-songwriter and host of the very popular Shed Sessions during lockdown. She's a great guitarist and I'm a big fan of hers. Hope you enjoy it. That episode should be online 9 a.m. on Friday the 25th of August. Bye for now.